After a billion-dollar hailstorm hits an area, your focus should be on running your business, not on insurance claims. We have helped streamline the insurance process for hundreds of roofing contractors across the U.S., and we can do it for yours too. Visit us online at c3adjusters.com and learn how we can help you save time and get claims paid faster.
Happy Friday, everyone. Lead meteorologist John Choquette here for this Friday 12 p.m. Daily Hail forecast, sponsored by the C3 Group and the Merlin Law Group. And first things first, I see right there in the comments, yes, we just won Vendor of the Year last night, the Win the Storm award ceremony. So here's just Matt, Derek, and Brandon, the three Hail Trace employees and their lovely wives, all at the award ceremony last night. And I think Derek might have also won snazziest loafers. He had some pretty sweet loafers wearing there. So just a thank you to everybody. I know a lot of you guys who watch us probably voted for us. Thanks to everyone who voted for us, and there's our clients and everything to make it all of this possible, and have been along for this sometimes bumpy ride of us continuing to grow, and we're excited to keep growing and provide more for you guys and keep pushing that industry further and further. So with that out of the way, we do have upcoming events. Obviously, the Windstorm Conference is happening right now. You can go to booth 611. If you go in Vegas, you're watching us from your hotel room or from the conference even, go to booth 611 and come see what all the hype's about, especially if you're not a client, customer of ours, just see what we're all about. Or if you just want to come say, hey, and congratulations, we'll be there all day today and all day tomorrow as well. And we'll also be at the SRC Summit on March 3rd through 5th. And we're platinum sponsors for that. So we're jumping straight into the forecast now. The forecast for today, really it's for more this evening. We have hail possible for after probably about 5, 6 o'clock this evening for places like Louisiana and Arkansas. Storm's going to be moving to the north. That's going to have the potential to have some hail. That is going to be more around quarter-size hail. It's going to be pretty isolated, so I only have a 2% chance for Little Rock and Jackson. Didn't mention further to the west because this here in Texas, the 5% that I have for Shreveport and Lufkin, this risk is primarily after about midnight and going very close to daybreak on Saturday for when things start to get going for your day on Saturday. So you have up to ping pong ball size hail possible with any of the strongest storms that can get going here in East Texas. And then from there, Saturday ends up being a much more interesting day where we're going to have the potential for quite a bit of hail, or possibly not so much. So we'll talk about that in just a second. This is what the radar is showing. Future radar for later on this evening. You can see here storms move basically all generally around here. There's going to be rain lifting to the north with a warm front that's going to bring us some stuff. And you see the storms are going to form just to the east of the Dallas area. So that's why I don't have Dallas in the risk anymore. But so this is this evening. Again, Louisiana and Arkansas, some isolated hail-producing storms. It might just be a little too much rain to really get too much going on. And then right there for your late overnight, I mean 3, 4 in the morning, it might just be a very early start to our Saturday here at Hail Trace versus a very late night. So Saturday, and we've been talking about this all week, and honestly, things have kind of come down to two different camps of what we think is going to happen. There will be events, there will be storms tomorrow. No, I'm fairly certain there'll be tornadoes tomorrow and definitely wind. The big question, of course, is going to be hail. Is there going to be a lot of hail, or is it going to be more of a line? So this is the HRRR model, is one we show you guys the most, that updates every single hour. This model wants what I'd say the best case scenario for hail, or worst case scenario for severe weather, where we have a lot of isolated supercells form on Saturday, and the whole line here is more line segmented. So with that, you'd have a better chance for hail. You want the storms to be more isolated for hail versus in a line where you're going to get almost nothing. So again, this particular model run, this is probably the most extreme solution where we're going to have a lot of hail, where places like Little Rock and Memphis and even Nashville would all be at risk for some big-time storms, and even going up further north towards Evansville, Indiana, and all the way potentially as far south as Jackson, Mississippi, but I think it's going to primarily be here, all within the Mississippi Delta, and then Delta region, and then into Middle Tennessee and into Kentucky, possibly even towards Louisville. So with this solution, this is what a preliminary forecast looks like for Saturday. Have up to 2-inch hail possible. Again, this is assuming we have lots of supercells. Things stay isolated. They can get themselves really going. I looked at lapse rates and a couple other things that really indicate whether or not you get big time hail, and they've been more favorable in the past day or two, showing that we have just enough to get over that golf ball limit, and that would be anywhere here where there would be isolated storms. So it would be Little Rock, Memphis, even as far east as Nashville, as far south as Shreveport and Monroe, and all within that 2-inch hail possibility. And then you can have up to half-dollar size hail, almost close to Cincinnati. Again, all assuming the warm front can make it that far north that quickly, and that things can stay isolated. Now, the big problem is that's only preliminary forecast number 1. I got another option here for you guys, because I know it's a little against the grain, but things have really had two very different looks compared to before. Can you move that over about 400 miles, please? Yes. Yeah, if this event were to happen in April, for example, it would be coming in much slower, and this would probably be a pretty high-end event if this weren't February. I'll just put it out there. I know a lot of folks watching in Oklahoma. If this were a system in the springtime, like in mid-late April, it'd be a big-time outbreak here and then further to the east over a couple of days. But, what are you going to do? It's February. So, this is the other possibility. This is what the other American model has. And there's not as much excitement on this map, if you haven't noticed. This one tries to really limit the amount of isolated supercells, a lot of storms on their own, and just has a line of storms, and even then it's kind of weak, but there is a big but. The 12Z, the NAM 3CAM model, I know that is just letters and numbers to you guys, but this particular model is really bad with severe weather storm mode, so we look more at the parameters. I didn't want to show you guys all that stuff. I just rather show you the radar. But it gives you the idea of or things are a little more linear, a little less supercelly, a little less coverage. So that really kind of tones down the potential for big-time hail. And that, with that, we would have not as big of a risk. Things would be further to the west. Even with the worst-case scenario, I think there will be some hail tomorrow. It'll be closer to the initial formation before it turns into a squall line. So with that, it also wouldn't be as strong, maybe up to some ping pong ball size hail, a very short window for the chance of hail to form, and that would still keep Little Rock and Memphis and Monroe all at risk for hail, but everyone else probably not as much. That doesn't minimize a tornado threat by any means. I think tornadoes are going to happen tomorrow. It's just a big question of where and how fast. And the other thing of note, regardless of what we get, whether we get supercells or whether we get a line of storms, that's kind of disappointing. This stuff is going to be hauling. We'll be moving about 65, 70 miles an hour. So it's going to be a pretty quick hit for the hail. So I hope that we get not only a lot of storms, but they're pretty high impact, because you're going to have probably a 3 or 4 minute hail time at most with these guys, because they're going to be rocketing through the area. So that's what we're looking at for Saturday. I know it was a lot. I know I got 2 different maps for you guys. I got 2 preliminary forecasts, which makes things a little challenging. But tomorrow we will do a forecast in the morning. I'm very likely going to be at my own house to do this forecast. But it will come out not at noon, because at noon things will be ongoing. All this stuff's going to be starting early in the morning. Again, we're going to have storms forming about 3, 4 in the morning, maybe a little later than that, right around daybreak in eastern Texas. And after that, we're off to the races for the whole day. So I'm not going to do the forecast at noon. I'm probably going to do it as early as I possibly can once we get a good idea of how things are going to play out. Is it going to be a line of storms, or are we going to have supercells? And once we do that, we will be off to the races, do a forecast. And of course, if anything goes crazy, and we do have supercells and move through places like Memphis or Nashville or any large populated area, we'll do live tune coverage as well. Make sure I get myself over to the office quickly so we can do some live coverage on that. Do some hail dances, cross those fingers. Maybe we can get a couple big storms out of this event, because in that 5-day forecast, it is not looking too great because it's still February. Once we get past tomorrow, things are quiet. We're not seeing anything through the 5-day, and honestly, well into next week. There's something showing up on Thursday or Friday, but it's far enough out, and it's still February, where it's very possible that may not even happen at all. So once we get past here, it'll be a little quiet for a few days, maybe something towards the end of next week, and then more quiet weather, as it looks like our overall forecast for 2019 is verifying, where the first half of March is going to be pretty quiet once we get into March. So with all that, make sure you guys check out the website and the new app. Get yourself a little familiar with it, since there is that chance for some storms tomorrow. So if it does impact your area, you want to make sure you know how to work everything. The app is live on the App Store, don't worry. So if you have any comments, questions, or concerns about that, you can message us on Intercom, which on the website, you see that little speech bubble there. You can click on that and you can message us right away. We'll do our best to help you out, or you can just give us a call. We'll be here all day today, and you can probably call us tomorrow as well, and we will make sure everything's squared out. I know there is always confusion when there's a new website, because you got to try to relearn everything, and worst case scenario, you can always go back to the old website for a little while you're trying to get used to stuff, especially if a big storm happens. You want to get things done fast. So follow us here on Facebook and hit see first, especially because we're not going to be doing the forecast at noon tomorrow. We're going to be doing it at a different time. You don't want to miss out when it happens, and if you do, you might sleep in or whatever it may be. It'll pop up right top of your news feed if you hit see first, and that'll be great for when there's live coverage as well, or when we have maps available. Finally, give us a call, email us, or visit our website at hailtrace.com. Find out why we are voted 2 years in a row the best vendor at the Wind and Storm Conference, and how we can help you have the greatest 2019 you can, regardless of the hail. And follow us here on Instagram as well. We'll doing updates at the Wind and Storm Conference, and depending on how tomorrow goes, we might do updates for behind-the-scenes stuff while we're doing the forecasting and mapping for that. So, do your hail dances, guys. I don't know if there are really any questions going on here. I know there are a couple comments on there. So, if anybody has any comments, questions, or concerns, put in the comments section below. Regardless, if you're watching this on Periscope or YouTube or Facebook, it all comes to the same place. I can see them there, and we'll try to answer anything you guys have for the rest of the day. Thank you. Yes, thank you for... yes, we're pretty excited to win that award. And I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Do those hail dances. Hopefully we can be doing some live coverage. I haven't done it in a little while, so I want to get those cobwebs dusted off, and we can be off to the races for hopefully a pretty strong storm season. I'll see you guys again tomorrow morning for a forecast update for the potential for some hail.